How to get a home loan modification approved. Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Maybe you know someone that is facing foreclosure. Well, hopefully we can help. A loan modification, a mortgage modification can really help readjust those mortgage payments so that they're affordable. But there's a process to it, and I'm going to show you how. Let's go. I'm going to share with you the #1 mistake that people make when applying for a mortgage modification. Number 2, I'm going to share with you the step-by-step process that lenders take you on, the process that you're going to have to navigate. I'm going to tell you all of the tips and tricks so that you don't get tripped up. And then last but not least, I'm going to share with you my secret to writing a hardship letter that actually gets your loan modification approved. So let's talk mortgages. Before we get into mortgage modifications or home loan modifications, we have to first talk about a mortgage. So most people that own a home do have a mortgage payment, okay? And so when you financed your home, when you purchased your home, you went through a process where you showed your income and your assets and your employment. And the bank approved you, and now you make a payment to the mortgage company each month. Well, sometimes you're not able to make your payments. What happens if you lose your job? What happens if there's a pandemic and your job is lost or you can't go to work for many months and now you can't make your payment? Well, millions and millions of people are facing this as a situation, and so lenders have a solution for you. It's called a mortgage modification. It's where they will readjust the payments, okay? They don't give you a new mortgage. They modify your current mortgage payments so that it's something that you can now afford based on your new situation. So when you first got your home, for example, you had your employment, you had your job, you had your set income. But when something changes, for example, you lose your job, or maybe someone gets sick, or your husband dies, or whatever the situation may be, you may need to do a loan modification. And lenders have that for you, where they adjust the payments downward to make it more affordable. Sometimes that is a temporary adjustment where they modify the mortgage for just a month, a year, 6 months, a year, 12 months, 2 years, whatever the situation may be. It is based on your situation, and you and the lender can work through it. So now that we know this is a solution for you, let's talk about how we get it done. So a very important thing that you need to know is the point of a mortgage modification is to avoid foreclosure, okay? You do not want to get a foreclosure. You do not want to be foreclosed upon. And that is where the lender will come and actually repossess the home. They will move you, your family, whoever's living there out of it. It's a process that usually happens through the court system in most states. And it is very, very detrimental to usually your emotional state, to your family, and to your credit, okay? So having a foreclosure and going through that process can be awful. And this is the point of why you would want to modify your mortgage instead of actually getting foreclosed upon. And for the lender, foreclosure is just as bad. They are not looking or wanting to foreclose on properties. In fact, they would much rather you continue making your payments and stay in that home, because for a lender, a foreclosure can also be very expensive, okay? They have to, remove you. They have to go through the court process in most states. They have to pay to have someone maintain the property. They now have to pay for the property. They have to pay the taxes and the insurance and getting the grass cut and all of the things that goes on with maintaining a home, the lender would now have to do. So foreclosure is definitely not what you would want or what the lender would want. So this is why you need to reach out to the lender. You need to know this is not what they want to do, and go into the situation claiming that this is not what you want for yourself. And when you speak to the lender, let them know this is probably not in their best interest either, so that both parties are working towards a solution. That's the first step. Have that initial conversation with the lender. And in that first conversation, again, make your intentions clear that you want to stay in the property. That is a very, very important aspect on a loan modification. Many people don't ever say that. They don't make their intention known, and the lender doesn't think that you are serious. So when you call the lender and you say, hey, I'm in this financial situation, explain the situation, also make it very clear your intent to stay in the home, okay? You want to give them that security. You want the lender to know this is what you are intending to do and that you're trying to work towards a solution. The next thing, when it comes to getting approved for a loan modification, you usually have to be behind on your mortgage payments, okay? Usually it's 2 or 3 months. But if you come into a situation where you've lost your job, or you know that losing your job or your income or your employment or sickness or whatever the situation is imminent, you want to reach out and say that to the lender. You want to start having those conversations and have that communication be open. Now, you do not want to give too much information to the lender because they will use that against you if they need to. However, if you stick to what I said, just explaining what the situation is really briefly, just the facts, you don't need to go into long emotional stories, just the facts, and stating your intention to keep the home, those are the initial conversations, okay? So as soon as you get behind on those payments, or as soon as you feel like this is imminent, do not hesitate to call the lender. Do not avoid their phone calls. Do not avoid the letters. Be proactive. Be open with your communication. The worst thing that you can do when you're trying to get approved for a loan modification is ignore all of their phone calls, ignore all of their letters, pretend, change your phone number, go off the face of the earth, and then when they're about to foreclose on you, call them up and beg them for a modification. That's not what you want to do. You want to be the good person that is reaching out proactively and starting the process so that it benefits you. After you have the conversation with the lender, again, being proactive with them, you want to put in an application for a loan modification. It's usually a very simple process. It's usually not a very long process. They usually just have you write a letter telling them what the situation is, or they have a quick application for you. Again, this is the first step. And once you have made your intentions clear that you can't pay, and this is your primary home, again, I'm not really speaking for investment properties in this case. I'm talking about your personal mortgage for your personal home. That is what is considered a homestead. And in most places and in most states, there are lots of laws that regulate your homestead. They don't want you to just be thrown out on the street and into homelessness, okay? And so if you're having these conversations with the lender and you put this on record that you want to keep the home, you want the loan modification, and that you're unable to pay at this time, and you put this again on record with the lender, it will usually stop the foreclosure process, okay? All you have to do is actually communicate and make this known, okay? And put it on record, whether it be on phone, on a recorded call, or with your letter in your actual application. Put it on record. Okay, and this is super important. I have to take a quick detour and just really tell you. So as many of you guys know, Noelle actually used to work in corporate America in mortgage banking. So I was actually a VP at Chase in mortgage banking. I was in leadership at Wells Fargo, Bank of America. I've actually held a lot of very high positions at most of your biggest lenders. In fact, the big three. I've worked at all of them, as well as some other mortgage companies. So I can tell you from experience, okay? This is insider tips here. This is what lenders are looking for. You have to submit your documentation, okay? Now again, this is Noelle telling you an insider secret. Do not give them more than what they ask for, okay? No less, no more. Exactly what they ask for, because in most situations, especially in the environment that we're in now after the whole fiasco that we had in the United States in 2009 with all of those foreclosures, they've changed lots of the laws, and many of them are in the consumer's favor, okay? They're in your favor. I know, trust me, I worked at a bank. They don't tell you this stuff. They're never going to tell you these things. But most of the laws are in your favor. So when you just submit the documentation that they're asking for. Do your best, okay? Don't just not submit something. If they ask you for something and you don't have it, submit a piece of paper that says do not have, and upload it to their system. Literally, that is the trick that you want to do. Do not just not submit something, because they can look for reasons that you didn't submit documentation in order to deny your loan modification. But as long as you are willing and actively taking their calls and giving them the stuff that they ask for, in most cases, they have to look at it and approve you, okay? Additionally, if for some reason your modification is denied, I'm gonna tell you exactly what to do, because there is a secret to it. So the big secret with most loan modifications is that hardship letter. Okay, so yes, they are looking at your income to make sure that you can repay the loan. So if you have no income at all and you have no job prospects, there are things that they can do where they can put you in a forbearance, where they suspend your mortgage payments until you find a job, and then they can give you a loan modification. But again, your intention has to be really clear that you want to stay in the property. It is your homestead. and then you write a very compelling hardship letter, okay? And your hardship letter is the reason why you got into the situation where you need the modification. What is your hardship? What are your extenuating circumstances, okay? And this is a big word that lenders use, but most people don't know what it means. They want to make sure this is a one-time event. If you make a letter and you start talking about your financial mismanagement or mistakes that you made, do not do that. Do not take any of the blame, okay? I know this sounds crazy, but really don't take any of the blame. You want your hardship letter to talk about external factors like the economy, like your job, downsizing, layoffs, things that you did not have control over, extenuating circumstances, things that don't happen all the time. Someone got sick, someone died, something like that. Stay focused on that. Do not say, you know, my husband ran off and then I had to use my credit cards and then I did this. No, try not to take any of the blame, but be responsible in what you're going to do going forward. That's the key. So I know I gave you a lot of great information. Please make sure you watch all of the videos in this playlist. Noelle is here every single weekday providing you content for free, almost like a free course right here for you. So please go ahead, like this video, comment below if you have any questions about loan modifications. Like I said, I have not only master's degrees and MBAs and all this great stuff, I also have a lot of experience working in the mortgage banking finance. In fact, all the way from starting at the bottom, moving all the way up to VP. So I know a lot of information. So ask your questions. I am here to help you. This is Noelle. To your success.